This is the first video to the concept of matrices. So what is a matrix? A matrix is a rectangular array of numbers. So just to give you an example, this is a matrix, and even this is a matrix. Also, it doesn't have to be a square. This could also be a matrix. And of course, you can repeat numbers as you saw here, and you could even have really big matrices, and we have almost no limit. So it's just a rectangular array of numbers. So just make sure that all rows have same number of elements and all columns have the same number of elements as well. Now, some keywords that you must know before learning more about matrices. Entries are the numbers in the matrix. So, for example, one of the matrices I showed you before, the entries are 0, 1, 1, and 0. So those are the entries, the numbers that you find in the matrix. Now, the rows, well, it's just a horizontal line of numbers in the matrix. So I'm just gonna keep this matrix right here. So this one has 2 rows. This is 1 row, and this is the second row. Very well. Columns is a vertical line of numbers. So as you can imagine, the columns of this matrix is this one and this one. So this is 1 and 2. Now size. So the size are the dimensions of the matrix. The size will always be represented by rows times columns. So number of rows times the number of columns. This is very important, so I'm gonna put it right here. You must remember that first it's the rows and second is the columns. If you have a matrix that is 3 by 2, this is not equal to a matrix that is 2 by 3. You must keep always the same order, and so the rows first and the columns second. More keywords. Now we have a column matrix is a matrix with only one column. As I mentioned before, since it's rows times columns, the size, so this should be n, so just a number, times 1. So it must have only one column. So this is the size of a column matrix. So for example, a column matrix would be something like this, something with just one column. You might guess what the row matrix is. It's basically the same thing, but instead of having only one column, we have only one row. So the size of this matrix is going to be 1 times, and let's put C for columns. And now let's see a little bit how you will refer to the different entries in a matrix. So you can almost think of a matrix as a coordinate grid. So you have this right here, and if you get the IJ entry, this means that it's in row I, column J. And this is the way it's gonna be. So this to the bottom left, I'm sorry, to the top left, we have 1, 1, and all the way to the bottom right, we have just basically we have R, C, so row, column. Very well. Now So entries. There is a special notation for entries in a matrix. So we always put variables that represent matrices with capital letters, and then its entries will have a subscript with two numbers represented I and J, the row and the column. So for example, for this one, we'll have A11. For the next one, it's still in the first row, but now it's in the second column, and so on and so forth. Now we can continue here. It's in the second row, but first column. It is in the second row and second column. And you can just see the pattern. Something to keep in mind is that in your diagonal right here, you will see that all the numbers must kind of repeat, must be the same row and same column. You could just find out why. It's because you are basically kind of making squares right here. And so of course a square has the same number of rows and columns. So it has 2 rows and 2 columns, so 2, 2, 3 rows and 3 columns, 3, 3, and you just keep going. That is more kind of an interesting fact. I'm not sure if it's very useful. So now, to know if two matrices are equal, A and B must be of equal size. And remember what I said previously. 2 by 3 is not equal to 3 by 2. Because you want the size to be exactly the same. You want to have same number of rows and same number of columns. Now, also to be equal, all entries must be equal as well. If Aij is not equal to Bij, then the matrices are not equal. They must be the same. So this is just the basics for matrices. Keep watching the videos to find out more.